Welcome to Mental Skills, week number 4.
Wait,
It's week number 4.
I've only been here 3.
Well then, that's okay, we'll catch you up at another time. So, we're talking about motivation. Motivation, as we've already discussed, is getting you to do something. Motivation is a way to get you to do something or to encourage you, to get you excited about doing something, right? So it's not just with regards to tennis though, right? It could be any situation. But we are of course here for tennis mental skills. This is not about saying, hey, these are great tennis videos, you have to enjoy these. Some of you probably already look at tennis outside of classes. Some of you may never even look at a tennis ball when you're not playing tennis, right? Hang on a second. Several of you have said, well, what's that got to do with motivation? Let me turn it back to you. What do you guys think that has to do with motivation?
You can aspire to do something, aspire to be like someone.
So there's a whole bunch of these videos out there, not just to do with tennis, but to do with sports, other things going on, right? Work, life, academics, where people are trying to inspire themselves and others and give them motivation to get better.
I think it's motivational because they're showing how even though people hit really tough shots, the people didn't give up, they ran as fast and played as hard as they can to get the results of that.
So, yes. So people are trying really hard, people are playing great points, right? For some people, those videos, or videos like that, are motivation to get better. For some of you, it doesn't make any difference, right? But the whole point is, there are things out there that might motivate you. Don't just think about tennis now, think about things in general. I want you to take the paper you have in front of you, the pens as well, and I want you to write down things that motivate you. If you can, do it specifically for tennis. If you're struggling with that, think about some of the things that motivate you in everyday life, whether it's academics, whether it's sports in general, family life. Write down some of the things that motivate you. Yes. All right, any volunteers to say what motivates them?
Meeting a progress goal, having fun, and failure. Yeah! Thank you!
Hang on. So meeting a goal,
Better high five.
having fun.
If you meet a goal, you want to do more.
I agree.
Having fun makes you want to play more, and then
Having fun
failure
motivates you, right?
makes you scared of screwing up.
So let's talk a little bit about the fear of failure for a second. All right?
It's not really a skill if you guys don't.
And when I say fear of failure, I'm not talking about Dennis. Don't get distracted. When I say a fear of failure, I'm not talking about you've got a fear of spiders where it petrifies you, right? A fear of failure might just be you just hate to fail at something. You hate to fail a test. You hate to lose a tennis match. I don't know a lot of people that like to fail. But all the successful tennis players, athletes, businessmen, businesswomen, they've all gone through their fair share of failure. So, it's often a tangent, but having a fear of failure is a motivator for a lot of people. What else motivates you?
The person talking to me right now.
I was going to say
Who's that, your best buddy next to you there?
No,
you.
Yeah, okay. There is. So, a teacher,
A teacher.
coach.
And Miss Daughter.
Yeah, right.
the feeling of winning.
So having the sensation of the feeling of winning.
Like the end result.
I tried to talk to her.
So when you win, how that makes you feel, that can act as a motivator, right?
Oh, maybe your emotions when you win.
Maybe your emotions when you win. What about you, Dennis? What motivates you? Roger Federer. Right?
I can know what Roger you
I think they
Well, I was assuming it was Roger Federer. I apologize.
Eli
I was
Manning, because he's
assuming.
starting again.
Ladies in the back, what are your motivations?
My family, my teachers,
My dog.
my favorite tennis players.
Okay.
Such as?
How does your family motivate you? It's a great one, right? Family is a very, very important part for so many people.
When I'm struggling, they're like root me on.
Okay. So having a supportive family group or a group of friends.
Going like playing a good point, like if it's like a really good point, like yeah, it just feels the same.
So playing good tennis, that motivates you. What else? Come on. Some of you have to have some pretty good ones in there, right? We talked about negative reinforcement. We talked about negative motivation before. I'm not saying that that's what I want to hear, but there's got to be some other motivating factors. Yeah.
The fact that Dennis is 9 years old and he's better than me.
Excuse me, compliment.
All right. So your competition, your peers, people that are already that are better than you at the moment, drive you to get better, to succeed.
He's like
Yeah.
fine.
I don't think he's fine.
Yeah, she is 5.
Okay.
He's like
What else?
10.
Can't have the same people always contribute.
No, I actually
I have
contributed.
a raised hand.
I haven't contributed.
Losing. So again, kind of tied into failure, losing, because we assume that's a very bad thing.
May I contribute?
Yes, twice.
So I have two. I'll read a couple. A new racket. Friends. Miss Otter. A 6-shot.
Okay, stop for a sec, stop for a
Motions
sec,
when you
stop
win.
for a sec.
And my dog.
You've got some good ones in there, right? But they're all random and they're all different. What do you mean a new racket motivates you?
Like, say I got a new racket, I'm like so hyped and I'm like, I'm gonna win for the racket because, like,
First of all, that's a bit weird, but yes, winning for the racket.
what I like my rackets. I have names.
What's the racket?
You don't.
You do know.
Jake?
My racket's name is Jake.
So is it really
Then you
a
love your
loss
racket.
when you're
I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for everyone to be ready.
Like, I don't get how Nick like smashes like his friends.
Yes, Jen.
I think that your videos are very motivational.
I'm gonna add that to my list.
I would actually say that some of you find or don't find the videos motivational,
I
but
find it very
some might,
I
right?
was motivated to talk
That's
while I was
good.
watching the
Excellent.
video.
I like peanut galleries.
Yep.
Rewards.
What do you mean by rewards?
Like, so if you know, if I do well in something, like let's say I win a match, sense of accomplishment,
We already talked about
like the yeah.
All right, so doing well in matches, good. What are some of the rewards for doing well? What are some of the rewards for winning matches?
Getting farther into the tournament.
Okay. Taking it a stage further, how about winning a tournament? Is that a reward?
Boost your rankings, boost your ATR or UTR. Sorry. Boost
So rankings, UTR, is it rating or ranking? Is UTR rating?
Rating.
Alright.
Out of 450. Like out of. No,
Yes,
50.
Dennis. Couple more.
Because you're producing 14, 16.
Say again?
Mental training motivates.
Okay, so mental training motivates you. Getting out and playing tennis might motivate others, right? What are some of the things that motivate you about playing or about winning? We talked about ranking points, UTR rating. What about the pros? What do you think they're motivated by?
Money.
Money, right? Money is a big motivating factor. What else?
The kids doing well.
Well, kids.
Say that again for me.
Dennis said money isn't that important, and I told him that for some pros, it's the difference between making these and $100.
Yeah. So for some people, money is very important. For some, it's not. Right? That's right.
They're fans.
Fans, fame and fortune, right? Motivation for your fans, yeah?
Prestige, like winning big tournaments.
Okay. So prestige, winning big tournaments.
Their reputation.
Reputation, that's a big one, right? A lot of people care about their reputation. So most of the motivation, or most of the factors we're talking about, are a certain type of motivation. Aside from positive and negative, that's not what I want to talk about now. There are two types of motivations. Does anyone know what they are?
Bribery and
Positive.
Monetary?
Bribery and what?
Positive and negative.
No, other than that.
Aside from positive and negative, there is positive and negative.
bribery.
Plus and minus, of course.
Bribery and words.
Monetary.
Not quite where I'm going with that. Bribery is a form of motivation, but it's not a very good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought we were doing another opposite of that, you know.
Okay? Positive, negative, good, bad. But aside from that, any of the ladies in the room know the two different types of motivation?
Violent or bribery.
Alright, we're going to have to stop talking now, because it's not anything to do with violence, and it's nothing to do with bribery. A lot of the things that you are talking about, things like prize money, things like rankings, ratings, things like if you don't win, you're grounded, right? Those are all a certain type of motivation.
Like tangible and non-tangible, I guess.
It's close,
That's deep.
close, right? Think about it more from a personal point of view.
Is it kind of like goals where like the process goal is it's like hit more topspin versus it and the what is it? Like is it kind of like goals where there's like an outcome or there's no outcome? Like
Okay,
in the prize money, the outcome's the money, but in
now you're getting really close. Now you're getting really close. All the goals we're talking about come from where?
Eccentric. Eccentric.
Money.
Extreme.
Okay, so here's what's happened. Someone's got their phone out
Extrinsic.
and
Extrinsic.
Googled the answer. It's actually extrinsic
Extrinsic motivation. That's
or
what I said.
intrinsic.
So internal
Exactly
or
what I said,
external?
dude.
Jesus. Internal or external? Can you what I mean?
Okay,
I don't know.
guys, we need to listen. Because if you're going to get one thing out of today, it's distinguishing the difference between extrinsic, aka external motivation, and intrinsic, also known as internal.
Absolutely not.
So give me some more examples of external motivation.
Well, like you might be motivated by just like the thrill of the point, or maybe by like the thought of winning like a tournament or like a certain match.
Okay. The thrill of winning the point, is that external or more internal?
Internal.
Internal, right?
Oh, I get it.
So external, there are factors at stake. So that's where you said tangible versus intangible, kind of close. That's where your example there, Alex, was pretty close, right? So external motivation, where can it come from? Other people. It can come from other people. At your age, your parents have quite a bit of influence. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yeah.
No? Okay. Sure his dad will be pleased to hear that one. Right? So your parents have an influence.
Presumptuous of you.
Your coaches hopefully have some kind of influence in a positive way. Your friends, if they're really friends, will be positive towards you. Right? But they also provide these external motivating factors. Let's talk about intrinsic. Is that how you say it, George? Got it right? Intrinsic?
Intrinsic.
He's got it.
Thank you for the word.
Intrinsic motivation. Let's talk a little bit about that. Inside, internal. What are some? This is a bit more difficult, but what are some of the examples of intrinsic motivation?
Like the fear motivation. It's like inside.
That can be. That's kind of a negative internal, right? It's still internal though. Worrying or having a fear of failure. Let's focus on the. You're right, but let's focus on some of the positives. What are some of the positive internal motivators?
The love of winning.
The love of winning, just the love of playing, getting some exercise. Right? Yeah, George?
Sense of accomplishment.
Sense of accomplishment, that's a big one. So all of these things are internal. It's a lot of the reasons why we why we start to play a game, why we start to play a sport. When you first picked up a tennis racket, if you can remember this far back,
No.
right? Did you do it because you wanted to win tournaments?
No.
No.
Probably not.
No.
Don't know
I
if
did
that
it
was.
because of my mom.
Say that again.
I did it because of my mom.
You did it because of your mum. What do you mean by that?
You play tennis for his mom.
My mom played tennis.
Your mum played tennis. She
So
got
when
you.
I was a kid, I wanted to play tennis.
Great. All right. At the time, you weren't thinking about high school tennis, college tennis, high rankings, fame, fortune, money, any of that.
I was only thinking about being number one in the world.
Can you be successful if you have no internal motivation?
No.
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
All right, hang on. Jared, you say yes. Why?
I have no internal.
You have no internal motivation. You
Well,
are solely motivated by external factors.
Well, some people have no motivation at all, and they're still insane.
No.
Curious?
No.
He doesn't.
Every player is motivated
All right, hang on.
by.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you guys
I
are.
disagree with it.
You guys are bringing up a good point. Does Kyrgios have any motivation?
No, of course he does.
It's
Of course he
motivation
does.
to put on a
Of course
show.
he wouldn't be here if he had no motivation.
Hang on. We just talked about internal and external motivation.
I still disagree. I
What?
feel like they.
Kyrgios doesn't have any motivation.
No, like, are we talking about like high level players
Talk about anyone.
in the world?
Anyone.
Me.
Why?
You have no motivation to play tennis.
It's not. Well, yeah, I guess I do.
Okay.
Alright,
Wow.
well, you're wrong.
Why are you talking?
Okay.
Move
So
on.
let's talk
There's
about.
some people.
You
let's
have
talk
the
about Kyrgios.
motivation to
Zero
survive.
people.
Let's talk about
You
Kyrgios
wanna
then.
live.
What are his motivations to play?
Smashing his racket.
No, absolutely not. That's not
Win.
motivation.
You
Not a
know,
good
he
shot.
has free rackets.
He's motivated
To
by.
get money from
He is
sponsors, to
motivated
get
by
money
his
from tournaments.
mood and anger. to
His
survive.
family and fans.
As far as I can see, he doesn't care about fans. As far as I can see, he doesn't care about prestige, or at
His
least he
nature.
says that.
Himself.
His ranking.
Himself.
Doesn't care about his ranking. What do you think he cares about?
Money, money, money.
Money.
Outwardly, it looks like all he cares about is money. Just
Money,
making
money.
enough money to survive and live, right? I'm sure it's much deeper than that. I'm sure he has a lot more going on.
What's prestige?
Prestige?
It's like when
Just kind of having the honor, the fame of Roger Federer is very proud of the prestige of being a 20-time Grand Slam winner. The accolades.
Who's curious?
Say again.
Who's curious?
Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah.
He's the Australian guy that seems always very
And
angry.
I was at 19.
I thought he was Russian.
Steve, do you know who's that?
I thought he was Canadian.
Yes, sir.
Putting on a good show.
Say again.
Putting on a good show.
Yeah,
I
Yes.
actually heard that was
Pleasing the audience.
Yeah, I think he
I don't
likes.
think he pleases.
So Nick Kyrgios is an interesting specimen. We can have a whole class on that alone. He tries to give the appearance that he doesn't care, but I think he does deep down. That's for discussion for another day. Someone like Kyrgios, though, has a lot of external motivators. He doesn't seem to be, or at least on occasion, he doesn't seem to be highly internally driven. So again, it goes back to my question. Why is it important to not just have external motivating factors? Yes, Jack?
If you don't have external motivating or internal motivating factors, you're not going to enjoy it. It's just going to be off the backs of other people.
So you're not going to enjoy it, and so eventually, what does that lead to?
Burning out.
depression.
Burning out,
Sorrow.
giving up. Hopefully not depression, but it could, right? It could lead to some
Yeah.
serious conditions.
It could be like you can get like I forgot what it's called, but you can get like homesick from like something like.
Sure, you could travel the world and be homesick.
No, you can like you like I forgot what it's
You
called.
can
but
live in your house.
Say you like do something like a lot and you just stop. It feels like wrong. It's like
It's not
Okay.
homesick. It's tennis.
So, with the external motivation, it's like having a reward system. Has everyone heard of the carrot and the stick? In terms of motivation, what does the carrot represent?
Positive motivation.
Oh.
Positive motivation, what does that mean, Jack? What kind of example is that?
Something, a goal, something you want to get. So usually it's something good, like something sweet, like money, or something that is like.
Something positive, money, the fame, the rankings, things like that. What does the stick represent?
The hard work.
The ups and downs of life.
It's like the negative motivation, it's like the fear of failure.
Okay.
And
That's
the,
good. Or it's the threats, right? Do this or this will happen. Right? Win your tennis match or you won't get dinner.
oof.
Someone use that. Someone use that as an example.
Those
So
are
yeah, I
some
think
parents.
so. Someone used that as an example a couple of years ago. I think they were joking. I sincerely hope they were joking.
I think that's
I think that was last class.
Huh?
I think that was 2 classes ago.
I know, I don't know that.
Well, maybe, but I've done this class for a few years now. Someone last year with the other academy I worked with said that. So basically, if you have the external factors as motivation, eventually you'll get tired and they'll cease to work, right? Because there's only so many external factors that you can have over time.
Is money an internal fact, external or internal?
External.
Because you want the money, but
It's
the
external.
money's
Oh,
there.
it's external.
I would say that money is external because it's coming from outside. Internal, just to sum up, internal is just the desire to play. For no other reason that you just like to play, that you like to get better, that you like to see improvement within your game or your things that you learn. Yes, sir.
It's like if you like see a pro and say, like, I want to be like that, is that external or internal?
I think it could be both. I think if you use it saying, hey, there's a professional that I really look up to, I'd like to be as good as that, but I know the hard work that it's going to take. If it motivates you to work harder to get better, that's probably internal. It's a very good question, actually. Right? But if you're comparing yourselves to your peers in terms of rankings and I need to get to this ranking to be better than this person, then that's external. So it's a case-by-case basis, but if you have a good mixture, you've got to have some external motivation, right? Unless you just want to play recreationally, which, by the way, is fine too. But I think if you're sitting in this room, you have some form of external motivation. I would argue that some of you want to have better rankings, that's external. I would argue that some of you are here because you are told you need to be here by a parent or a family member or a coach. Guess what? That's external as well. Hopefully you're here of your own volition and you want to be here to learn,
Obviously.
but I know that might not be the case for all of you. Jared,
I'm here for learning.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay, listen.
It's some good times.
What are some examples, or what are some telltale signs of a player that has low motivation, do you think?
Oh,
Yeah, Lucian.
like if they just give up in the middle of the point, it's too long to blast the ball out like this.
Okay? So they give up. They give up in the point, they give up in the match. Yes?
Being lazy.
Being lazy, that's a good one. Not trying or being lazy in practice and everything you're doing, that signals low motivation, right? Yeah, what else?
Low motivation might be someone who is like purposely trying to get the ball out.
So tanking, we call that tanking. Yeah.
So,
So purposely not trying to win. I like that one. Yeah. Dennis.
Like sarcasm when you're like, you lose a point and you're like, yes.
So sarcasm when you lose a point. Oh, you're such a good tennis player.
Dennis.
That is so.
Dennis is going to the World Cup for tennis.
I don't know that.
So tanking, excuses, complaining. Basically not very happy on the court, right?
Well, if they're like smashing a racket and screaming at themselves, that shows that they do have a lot of motivation because like they actually care about it.
Don't confuse the two. You're not wrong, right? They care, but they may not be motivated to work hard. Right? So you're right, they care, absolutely. If someone is banging a racket, I think that's because they care. If you don't care about something, you don't get that emotionally invested to start abusing your racket, the ball, whatever it might be. But they may not have the motivation to get where they need to be. Yes, sir. You had your hand up?
Yeah.
No. Stop. Mhm. Whose responsibility is it to get motivated? Say again? It's your responsibility, right? Yourself. So ultimately, it's the player's responsibility for their motivation. Who can help with that? Who can help the player if they are motivated and they want to get better? Yes.
Coaches and parents.
Coaches, parents, who else? Peers, friends, right? How many of you are happy when your friends in this room win a tournament?
I'd be happy.
I would say most of you, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do to increase your internal motivation over time, right? It's clear that we can find all these external motivating factors, but what can we do to increase our internal motivation? Yes, Dan?
Well, you need motivation.
So if you, it's kind of like it is a cycle, right? I wouldn't say it's vicious, but it's a cycle. So if you get better, maybe you're more motivated. The more motivated you are, the harder you work, the better you get, right? So it is a cycle. So getting better can definitely motivate you. What else?
Talking to yourself to psych yourself up.
Positive self-talk. Maybe watch a few motivational videos.
Or negative self-talk.
Soccer ones are the best.
Soccer ones. You like soccer motivational videos?
Oh
Good.
yeah. I like croquet motivational videos.
I like sports motivational videos, you know, it's like I watch.
What else? Yes, Jack.
I'm Jack.
There's always the factor like that the end result could also be great. Like, so that's a good motivation.
Say that one more time. I couldn't hear you because other people were talking.
The end result and then learning to like it. Just learning to like it. So like you see the end result and you just see yourself and that's it.
Okay, so
Visualization.
enjoying the process almost.
Yeah.
Enjoying the process of whether you win or lose.
Process.
I know you weren't correct in my English.
Like visualization. Like
Okay.
imagining yourself.
So that's something that we cover later, but yeah, sure. Visualizing, yourself getting better, winning matches, improving. Maybe that helps your motivation a little bit.
Like say you do well like one time, sometimes like maybe like the greed to replicate that feeling again. Like if you win a tournament, you want to do it again.
Okay, so winning a tournament and then wanting to replicate that feeling. That could be both, right? Because you've got an external factor in there. But it is also that feeling, that internal feeling. What about something that we talked about in the second week? What can you do yourself to motivate you? That we've talked about previously. Yeah?
Set goals.
Setting goals. How many of you in this room have set some goals since we talked about it?
Something. I set goals before.
Yes, Dennis.
Good.
The short-term
Right?
ones.
So from the show of hands, some of you are taking it very seriously, which is great.
Yes.
Again, it's very personal to you. But if you feel that that sometimes you're not as motivated as you'd like to be to come out and play, or train, or even come to mental skills on a Wednesday afternoon, when you could be doing something different, it's important to try and find things to motivate you. And ultimately, you're the only person that knows what that's going to be.